Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good evening to all of our viewers on Bideshi Vibes. This is episode 12 on the 6th of December 2020. The year is almost coming to an end. Wherever you're watching from all over the world, welcome. It's an honor and an opportunity to spend some time with you on this Sunday evening with some very important discussions, as well as a very important guest who will join us very, very soon. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and of course subscribe to us. And later, if you're going to join later on, then of course for those who will join later on, you Facebook page, inshallah, as well as on YouTube. So don't forget to like those, share, comment, and subscribe. I'm not alone as usual, and we've got two faces today, and that's even a bigger honor and a pleasure, inshallah. So let's bring those two faces to life now. Let's go to the usual colleague of mine, and then the extra special colleague as well, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum and good evening to Brother Yahya. Thank you so much for the introduction. And yes, it's very excited to be here. As you say, it's the 6th of December, very cold and chilly and dark evening in London. We're only a few days, well, near enough 2 weeks, just under two, actually over 2 weeks till Christmas and obviously the festivities in the United Kingdom. Good evening to our audience in the UK and also worldwide. And thank you very much for tuning into Bideshi Vibes. Like Brother Yahya said, if you can refer, tag, tweet, share, and comment and Insta, whatever you like to do in your social media network, to your friends and family about Bideshi Vibes, then please do so. We are actually joined today by a third host, a friend of Bideshi Vibes, and also a part of his core team, Brother Nazir Ali. Assalamu alaikum, how are you?
Wa alaikum salam. Good evening, brothers. I'm the replacement. I'm the Megna Afa for today. Normally she'll be here. I'm her replacement.
Inshallah, you won't have to
be a good thing.
But, inshallah, you won't have to be a replacement. I think you will be a part of an important journey of this team, inshallah, onwards and upwards, no doubt. And of course, Magna will be joining us as well, not tonight, but definitely on this form, as well as Nazir Bhai. You will see him much more often, inshallah. Yeah, so what's going on in the world of news, issues? Kabir Bhai, you're opinionated. Go on, tell us, give us something.
Before we move on to current affairs, I just want to say Megna actually has a lot more hair than Brother Nazir, so that she has that advantage for sure.
This is out of choice. You know, most people like bold men. They think they're bold and wealthy. So
absolutely, well, you're definitely bold and wealthy, that's for sure. We have a very, very exciting episode.
It's a misconception.
We have a really exciting episode lined up for you, and today's topic is actually a very, very personal, close one. It's very, 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 very important to every Muslim in the world, but not also Muslim, but every anti-racist as well. There, we are going to be talking about Islamophobia, which has been rising, and it's been rising for the last 100 years or so, but over the last 25, 30 years, it really has risen to the point now where it's become a political punch bag. And the Muslims have become the punch bag for anybody that wants to basically have that wants to develop themselves politically, but also on social media, on professional capacity. The anti-Muslim, anti-Islamophobia industry for experts and pundits absolutely huge. The figures are astronomical, and we're going to be discussing that with Mr. Harun Rashid Khan, Secretary General of the Muslim Council of Britain. And also we'll be finding out a bit more about Muslim Council of Britain and allow you the chance to find out about them and how they can be so important to us. So we look forward to that. He should be joining us very, very shortly. But again, it's been a very packed, it's been a very busy 2 weeks in the world of news, economics, politics, and sports. We've had the supporters start going into the football matches since yesterday, which is great news. At least we're getting some kind of a normality back into our lifestyle. But there is only one story to start off with, and that is we are only about, near enough 5 days away from the conclusion of discussions on Brexit and we've got the deadline up to 31st of January, and there is the current possibility of a no Brexit, no deal at the moment. It seems a bit of a shambles, gentlemen. Are you worried about the economic impacts in the for 2021?
Of course, everyone's worried. We are worried. Can you imagine on the 1st of January, there will be truckloads of goods stuck on our borders? No one knows how this gonna end up. In the midst of this global pandemic, we have, Jack and Jill just negotiating some sort of settlement that should have been happening a long time ago. I mean, they have more than enough time to deal with this, and now we're on the 11th hour. Obviously, they hoped that Trump would get into power and possibly have some sort of sellout of the NHS and other various aspects of the British systems here. So that hasn't happened, and it's not looking good for us lay people in the UK.
Yeah, definitely. The COVID has had a very big impact on everyone's life. In terms of the whole so-called new normal. But I think in between COVID, I think a lot of us have forgotten the reality of Brexit, which was, like we had voted, and initially we were all panicking, what's going to happen, what's going to be the decision, some were celebrating, so on and so forth. But this particular part, which is coming up in a few days' time, is really going to prove itself to all of us, for those who are pro-Brexit and perhaps those who are against Brexit, that the reality of all of this is, Britain's going to be in a very difficult situation either way. And I'm not saying that, suddenly everything will come to a halt, but we will start realizing some of the things that we ourselves as citizens parts of the country and different communities and different social groups have been taken for granted. And I feel that maybe some of the most disadvantaged may end up being impacted less and the most.
Yeah, absolutely, and you are correct. It's been an absolute shambles. A very highly well-paid civil servants and negotiators have had the time to negotiate a deal, and with few days in from the deadline, they haven't managed to achieve it. Let's get some clarity. If they do negotiate, I'm available, but I'm super expensive. But for the right price, I'm sure I can help them out. Now, moving on and talking about COVID and its impact, Brexit and its impact on the economic. We've had some freedom back in the United Kingdom since the 2nd of December, with some restrictions lifted of COVID. How have you seen the story develop? I mean, it's been chaos in terms of the shopping world, I believe.
Well, I just came across a post, I think it was, in one of the areas, someone can correct me, that they've had to close the shopping center down because of the literal number of people that are going into the shopping centers, which means social distancing, is an issue of the past, basically. And I don't know if, we're also talking about a new vaccine coming through very soon. It seems like, all of this is in a mixed hodgepodge of everything and nothing, really. If you're talking about social distancing and then you're opening shopping centers where people are literally packing up because they've been waiting to do this, and Christmas is just around the corner. You've employed people to come into the country for what? To pack turkeys because people want to celebrate Christmas. So, I'm not against this or that, but Corona hasn't left us.
No, I mean, just I think today in Nottingham, which is under tier 3 system of the government's risk areas, and the law enforcement had to intervene to close down a Christmas market because people still have not come to terms with keeping their face covered and social distancing. How long we've had this COVID for? Almost 8-9 months now, and it's going to go on for a much longer time. Yes, the good news is the vaccine has just come to us. We are the first country in the world to receive a proper licensed vaccine. Also, brothers who are in the NHS, like Brother Yahya, you should have already received the parcel in the post, or is it going to be hand delivered?
Well, I wouldn't mind if it was hand delivered. I'm still waiting to find out. The thing is, it's very interesting that the vaccine has been. I'm in two minds what to do with it. There's so much discussion this way or that way. I believe in taking means and taking precautions. I don't know what to make of the vaccine, because there's a big discussion about how quick that the vaccine has come about, and whether what would be nice with if all of our MPs in the House of Parliament, and I tell you what, in the Lords too, actually, those boys in there, should all take the vaccine and give the citizens maybe 2 weeks, and then get all of us to come forward and do the same. Do you think that would be a good idea?
I think that was one of my suggestions in social media. They should all line up and take it and show us how it's done. And those that survive, then that is a testimony of their sacrifice for this country. What better way to, prove
Lead
something
by
that
example.
it works?
Naturally, we're not going to be seeing the MPs.
Definitely, you're right. You're right.
It's a great idea, but unfortunately, won't happen. Just before we move on to our guest, there was another interesting story actually this week. And Priti Patel, the Home Secretary, has failed to deport
I mean, she's
23.
always in the frontline news for something. One way or another, she's always there.
Yeah, not always for the right reasons.
She's not bullying the
No.
editors, is she?
No. What she's
Get
tried
to
to
the point,
deport. Yeah, she tried to deport 23 individuals of Jamaican descent into Jamaica because obviously they have been found guilty of some criminality in the UK. But 60 Labour MPs plus well-known black celebrities basically launched a last-minute legal challenge and stopped the deportation, rightly in my opinion. Do you think Priti Patel is a bit trigger-happy when it comes to revoking visa, etc.? The question here is, if these individuals have committed a crime in the United Kingdom, then surely they should stay in the United Kingdom and be trialed and serve their punishment in the UK. What do you guys think?
Definitely. I mean, I don't know where this came about. It's just happened in the last few years where we see a lot of people get deported quite easily. She forgets her own roots. I'm sure she wasn't, her family wasn't just came out from nowhere. She's from Indian heritage. So they must have come from somewhere, either it's Kenya or Ugandan area and into the UK. So she always seems to be just jumping about, trying to get headline attention, and not always for the right reasons.
Yeah, absolutely, brother. Yeah, you want to say anything on the story?
Well, no, I mean, there's what can I say? Pretty so far, it's quite amazing. I think she could have done the decent thing, of resigning from her post, but that doesn't mean she would have resigned from being, of course. But that would have been the noble thing to do in this whole bullying, and it just seems like it's.
Unfortunately, we've got some technical issues.
Down. And I don't know, but I'm not sure when Pretty's time is coming, but she hasn't necessarily given me any encouragement.
Yeah, absolutely.
She definitely has something on Bojo, because he's the only one that seemed to defend her when it came to the disciplinary issues the couple of days ago, and he protected her basically.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Priti Patel, the daughter of immigrants into the United Kingdom, now Home Secretary for the Conservative Party, the current government, doesn't like migrants herself. Wow. It's not really a fair one. And to be honest, if you're somebody with that kind of view, I think she's very, very trigger happy. She shouldn't really be the Home Secretary, in my opinion. You've got to be fair and balanced with the immigration system. Now, that's the end of the current affairs for today. We were going to speak about Donald Trump, as we always do, but unfortunately, we don't have any time anymore. We have to move on to our topic of the show and to meet our guest for this current episode. We want to discuss Islamophobia and the current and the rise in Islamophobic hate crimes, but most importantly, the rise in the language and the literature of the politicians, which is then picked up by the media and then fueled into the society, which makes it very, very difficult for Muslim people and Muslim society in the United Kingdom to get any kind of relief, actually, in terms of the current discrimination they're suffering. And we want to find out the causes of it today and the solutions with the Secretary General of the Muslim Council of Britain, Mr. Harun Rashid Khan. Salam alaikum, good evening, and welcome to Bideshi Vibes.
Wa alaikum salam. Nice to meet you all.
Assalamu alaikum.
Salam.
I wore my Muslimic dress for the occasion as well.
You sure it's not your pajamas?
Well, it acts as pajamas at night time, and daytime it's a Muslimic dress, because the Islamophobes, they think this is a Muslim dress, a Muslim only dress. So I'm sure you can clarify who exactly this wears in this part of the world.
So thank you very much for making the time, Secretary General. First and foremost, you've been the Secretary General of the Muslim Council of Britain since 2016. Am I correct? This is your final weeks into your tenure before the new elections, correct?
Yeah, that's right. So the MCB holds an election every 2 years. It's part of an annual general meeting, an AGM, and the Secretary General and the Deputy Secretary General are both elected for a 2-year term, and the maximum time that you can serve continuously is for 2 terms, so a maximum of 4 years. I had a bit of an extension this year, so the AGM should have taken place in the summer, but because of COVID and the lockdown, it was postponed, and now it's planned for the end of January 21, inshallah.
So COVID has been a blessing for you, at least.
In many ways.
I mean, will you be clinging on to power, or like the other Muslim?
Some people have suggested it to me, actually. They can change things, change the constitution, but no, I think, inshallah, MCB, and I'm sure we'll touch on some of this around the way MCB is organized, the way it's running. Alhamdulillah, it's been going on since 1997, and it's quite a well-structured organization in terms of its internal, democracy is the best word I can use to describe it. Alhamdulillah, it's a good example of how it can operate with a wide range of membership, especially within the Muslim communities.
Absolutely.
Inshallah, we look forward to sisters coming forward as well, not just brothers all the time. Inshallah.
Just to say, Turgut Arab is very happy to see a new face on Bideshi Vibes. We're not talking about the guest, we're talking about one of the new presenters. So, already positive comments are coming in for this bold, what's it called? Appetizer.
Excellent.
Well, I called someone out there.
Absolutely.
That's the first one. I'm sure it won't be the last.
Yeah. Brother Harun, the current Prime Minister Boris Johnson once made a comment about Muslim that love wearing the niqab, that it resembles bank robbers and letterboxes. He managed to make that comment, and nobody challenged him regarding it. Where somebody could have said, if women have the freedom of mind and freedom of will to wear clothes and show their body, then the same women also have the freedom of mind and freedom of will to cover their body. Nobody challenged him. He's now the current UK Prime Minister. He would not have been able to make these kind of comments about any other communities, for example, the Jewish community or the Catholic community, or even say, for example, the Black community as well. So why is it that Muslims are the punch bag or political punch bag for all politicians, and it goes unchallenged?
So actually, it's good that you've put one of the articles up. This was stated by him in an article in the Daily Telegraph, where, as you know, he was a writer in the commentator in the Telegraph. He earned a good salary actually from that position, and he wrote a piece in the paper, and he made reference to Muslim women, specifically those who wear the niqab, face covering, and made reference to them in a kind of jibe, really, to say, about letterboxes and bank robbers. And if you read the article, in a very perverse way, he was using that sentence to try and say that he was actually defending them. So it's ridiculous. And what happened was, the reality of it was that naturally the right-wing people, especially people like EDO or people who generally hate Muslims, picked up on this, and it became a national story. There was huge protests in various forms on this point, and also a lot of people did challenge him. Even in Parliament, there were questions raised. Some parliamentarians raised it very specifically about this, and as we know, the person he just brushed it aside, because really there wasn't any specific recourse that you could take to that reference. Many people tried in many different forms. And beyond that, we'll probably touch on it, is Islamophobia generally within the Conservative Party is a major issue. This was just like one incident of a few hundred incidents that have taken place specifically with political party members of the Conservative Party. That's MPs, peers, even local councillors. And some of your listeners may be aware the MCB specifically has been challenging this for a number of years, quite vocally, quite openly as well.
Excellent. We will come back to the role that the MCB plays for the Muslims in the United Kingdom and what they're lacking and what the Muslim community do in general. But yeah, talking about Boris Johnson, that Daily Telegraph article, I think he was getting paid £250,000 a year, which he described as chicken feed. I think as the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, he's earning about 150,000 with his 5 or 6 children that he's supporting. I don't think that salary is enough for him. So I don't see him lasting another couple of years, to be honest with you. But coming back to the point of Islamophobia, I've done in terms of the description and the definition of Islamophobia and Islamophobe. Let me read something out to you. According to the Oxford English Dictionary, it defines Islamophobia as an intense dislike or fear of Islam, especially as a political force, hostility or prejudice towards Muslims. Google interprets Islamophobe, a person with a dislike or prejudice against Islam or Muslims, especially as a political force. The question here is, none of the other religions or faith are seen as a political system and are humanized as a group of people following a faith and therefore not seen as a threat to a political system for politicians to hide behind it. Clearly, the politicians are safeguarding their racist attitude and making a political capital at the expense of Muslims. How do we define the definition without the word politics anywhere near the definition as an Islamophobe, or in defining Islamophobia, taking the protection away from politicians and calling them out as racist, as Islam and Islamophobia is not a political system at all? What is the definition of Islamophobia? What problems are you having? And why is political system being used in its definition? Because if it's a political system, then naturally you can compare it to, say, for example, communism or capitalism or other forms of isms and other political systems, and therefore it creates fear amongst those that are reading or listening.
Absolutely, and I think you've raised some good points there. I think those textbook definitions aren't correct. I'm not sure where they originated from, but there has been extensive work done on the definition of Islamophobia. So the term Islamophobia actually has existed for a number of years, a few decades now, probably going back even longer. Where it became quite popular within the English discourse was around 1997, the same year MCB was formed, funny enough, by the Runnymede Trust. So they produced a report. They coined that phrase Islamophobia, where they explained the hatred towards Muslims and they explained what Islamophobia was. Then we fast track forward. For many years, it's been talked about, and naturally, as you mentioned earlier, a lot of hate crime has grown towards Muslims. There's a lot of anti-Muslim sentiment, and there's been a lot of discussion for a number of years. People have been trying to find a definition that can cover as much as possible what Muslims actually feel when they're hated and when they're targeted. So there was a big piece of work done by an all-party parliamentary group, APPG as they're known, set up by a number of MPs, including Baroness Warsi, Afzal Khan MP, Naz Shah MP, Wes Streeting, and a few others. And they launched a study and research into understanding what is Islamophobia and how to define it. They consulted academics, they consulted Muslim organizations, they wrote to lots of people, and many Muslim organizations up and down the country responded to that consultation in writing. Some of it is public, some of it isn't, because there's a lot of documentation there. Anyway, at the end of it, they produced what's called a working definition of Islamophobia. The MCB also contributed in the sense that we wrote back, we gave our view on it, because it wasn't something that's just going to be defined by MCB, because we can't capture everyone's views. It had to be a collective view across the country. And the definition that they agreed on at the APPG is that Islamophobia is rooted in racism and is a type of racism that targets expressions of Muslimness or perceived Muslimness. Now, I'm not going to go into lots of explanation on this. It's quite easy. There is a website dedicated to this. It's called Islamophobia-definition.com. There's lots of background there. There's frequently asked questions, like, for example, you'll hear some critics say, "Oh, Islamophobia is Islam is not a race." That's the usual response, because the definition talks about Islamophobia is rooted in racism, and the thinking behind that. So there's about 70 academics who backed this definition. They're all listed on that website. There's around 700 Muslim organizations and mosques in the UK who backed this definition after it was put out. There's every major political party in the UK has endorsed the definition, except the Conservative Party. So Labour, Liberal Democrats, they've officially announced it. They voted on it at their annual conferences as well. So or through their party, they had full endorsement. Labour, Lib Dems, Green Party, Plaid Cymru from Wales, SNP in Scotland, and the only one who held back was the Conservative Party. So no surprise there. We'll come to some of that afterwards. And then, so there's huge backing. I have to say, just like anything else, not everyone in the Muslim community necessarily understood it or agrees with it, and that's not what the view is. So naturally, people would differ. They would have slightly different views on what they understand this to be. So there are a handful of Muslims who also don't. That's the page. Thank you. There are a handful of Muslims who don't agree with the definition of it, but we don't need to get into the nitty-gritty. I think the point is, the thinking around the racism aspect is, racism as a hate crime is recognized extensively within the UK. What it means.
That's right.
The misconception is people assume that racism is to do with color, and it's not. Racialization, the hatred towards Muslims has become racialized because Muslims come from many different backgrounds, and it's not to do with color. It's the targeting of a people, and that's why we talk about expressions of Muslimness, because you can be a Sikh wearing a turban and still face Islamophobia, because the person attacking that person is thinking you're a Muslim, you're not a Sikh. So
I mean, quite a few Sikhs during the height of the Iraq war and
yeah, they were attacked. They still are. They still get abused. Asian people, Asian guy with, actually even an English guy with a hipster long beard is documented, has been attacked, people thinking he's a Muslim. And this is the thing about being perceived as a Muslim. So because you can't just identify people by any specific identification, it's about our practices, about the things that we do, about the way we look. And so to try and capture all of that, this is the explanation, a very basic explanation of what Islamophobia is, and to try and define it. And another reason is because racism and the hatred towards Muslims, the laws around it are much stronger. So if Muslims are racialized, it can be acted upon as a crime. So you don't have to necessarily have a specific crime saying this was Islamophobia, because it's already underpinned by race laws. So from the academic's perspective, it was a much easier way to get something into the discourse about Islamophobia so that people understand. Alhamdulillah, I would have to say, many organizations, local authorities, local councils, even the police force, we've been working really hard to try and inform them, to raise that awareness about what Islamophobia is and how it needs to be accepted in the sense in society that it's a hate crime. But we're still, obviously, the other people who don't like it, as you would expect, are very much many people from the right-wing political discourse. So apart from the Conservative Party not accepting it, there are critics on the right. Magazines like The Spectator, some of their writers like Douglas Murray and a few others. Many people have attacked the definition with very weak arguments because they just don't like the fact that Muslims should be protected, and that's the kind of message we're getting. So it's a constant battle to try and win over people, to make them understand. Alhamdulillah, we have lots of allies, and many people are recognizing it. I think we have a lot of work to do still to bring this into mainstream discussion.
So
yeah, absolutely.
why do the Conservative Party find it an issue compared to anybody else? I mean, what is the underlying reason for that particular political party finding an issue when we know a lot of Muslims support the Conservative Party and are also members of the Conservative Party?
It's a good question. Maybe the first point that Kabir raised could explain this, that they've politicized it. It's very political for them. The fact that they don't want to recognize, we don't know why, it's not very clear. Actually, there was one point where the police made a comment quite early on when the definition was launched. I don't know if you remember. And the counterterrorism police came out and said that they wouldn't accept it because they felt that if this definition was adopted, then they wouldn't be able to do their job. People would use that to some kind of counter and say that they were being Islamophobic, which is completely wrong, by the way. And then within days they backtracked because they were contacted, people wrote them, and it was explained to them that this isn't the case, and they backtracked on it. So this is the point. There is a fear, I think, within some elements of political society that giving this protection to Muslims would put them in a difficult place because they're worried about being called Islamophobes. The reality is some of them are already Islamophobes anyway. So it's just like anything else, isn't it? That if you're doing something wrong, the last thing you want is for society or to bring in a law that's going to stop you, because you lose, in their view, they're losing their freedom. But what they don't realize is it's just hatred towards Muslim communities.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the thing is, the racists and the bigots need to be called out racist and the bigots. And by the way, the police definition and the police argument is absolutely weak. What they are actually doing, if they accept this definition, there are so many intrusive and unfair policies that they're targeting Muslims with, they won't be able to implement it. And the thing is, the Islamophobia and the anti-Muslim industry is a huge money spinner. We do not have any measurement or assessments in terms of how much money are being made by journalists, pundits, or so-called experts in the name of Islamophobia, and people who think themselves are Islamic experts, but they're not. They're making a lot of money. I totally understand why the Conservatives have taken the position they have, because they're making so much intrusive laws against Muslims, which they can't implement and be practical. But also the question here is, I mean, as a humanist, I mean, you can hold racial views and hostile views, but these politicians are only in power because we are voting for them. The problem here is not the politicians. The problem here is the Muslim community. If somebody is an Islamophobe and they have Islamophobic views, doesn't matter whether you have political affiliation with the Conservative or somebody else, you don't want to vote for this particular individual. So vote and take the vote for them. And then we will come into other solutions in the second part of the show, where we'll discuss on how to fund possible opponents who are more Muslim friendly and are willing to be more respectable and accept Islamophobia does exist and want to do something to counter it. Now, without any delay, we're a bit late in. We will come back to Brother Harun Khan just slightly in slightly a few minutes, but it's that time of the day and it's that time of the program where we interact with our audience, and it's time for Crack the Code Challenge.
Before you go, Koirba, just before you go into that, I just want to announce a question which Brother Harun can think about. This is from Achid Ali.
I can see the question on my screen.
What's the secret to looking young? And he's apparently known you since 2002. So we'll hold you to the answer right at the end, inshallah. But we're going to go on to cracking the code. A lot of people are waiting for this. This gives you a little bit of a breather for the next segment. Yes, Kabir bhai, let's crack this code.
Yes, absolutely. Let's crack the code challenge. It's basically a quiz for our audience. The prize this week is a meal for two at Gram Bangla, a very beautiful restaurant, very beautiful food. You know the rules already. I mean, this is 12 episodes, 6 questions this week on your screen. Answer the questions, take the first alphabet of the answer, unscramble it, and it should this week be a famous fashion designer brand. Okay, so we know it's going to be 6 alphabets and it's going to be 6 questions. A meal for two is the prize for the winner at Gram Bangla. Now, can we have the 6 questions, please?
Yeah,
Brother
let's
Nazir,
do the first one. The first one is name the world's second largest religion. Very interesting. Name the world's second largest religion. That's number 1.
Is that practicing religion or the religion?
Well, let's take it as it is. The second question is, what is the currency of Saudi Arabia? What is the currency of Saudi Arabia? Nazir, you can do the third one.
I'll let you carry on.
Okay. Blend him Perfection, Tilton, Patterson, and Castlebright are all which types of fruit? Blenheim, Perfection, Tilton, Patterson, and Castlebright are all which types of fruit? Number 4. Go on, Brother Nazir, for you.
Name the capital city of Somalia.
Thank you. Question number 5. Name the 8th planet from the sun. Name the 8th planet from the sun. And the final one. Would you like to go for this, Nazbai?
Yeah, Benin, Burkina Faso, Burundi, Chad, Comoros are all countries from which continent?
Okay, so Benin, Burkina Faso, Burundi, Chad, and Comoros are all countries found in which continent, basically? Yeah. All right. Wherever you are from, you can be from London, you can be from Dhaka, you can be from Dubai, you can be from Jeddah, you can even use your Google to get the answers. So crack the code. Challenge rules is simple. Take the first letter of each answer and then unscramble the set of 6 letters to reveal the name of a world famous fashion designer brand. Thank you.
Yeah.
Harun
Good luck.
have you been to Grand Bangla? I know you know some of the people who run the place.
No, I haven't. Not. I've been in lockdown, obviously, like everyone else. So,
Well,
but yeah, no. Even on the free time, yeah, I haven't been out.
No.
I haven't.
Okay.
Well, good
It's
luck
in
to all
Brick
the
Lane. It's very authentic.
I've heard about it.
Okay.
I've heard about it.
It's newly
Okay,
revamped. I think maybe Harun Bhai after lockdown can go, actually, because there's a lot of people that know you, or there's a couple of people who know you and you know them very well, actually, those who are leading it. Yes, Kabir Bhai, back
Yeah.
to interrogation.
That's not interrogation. Back to the discussion. But good luck to
Only
all the
joking.
good luck to the participants who are taking part. Like Brother Yahya said, you can use Google. We won't know about it. We don't encourage it. But yeah, good luck with this. We'll announce the winner at the end of the program. Now, coming back to our discussion, the MCB had a webinar, I think yesterday. Unfortunately, I missed it, but I did register it. Okay. It's basically Colin Bloom, an individual that the government have appointed to be a faith engagement advisor, leading a review into how best for the government to find a policy how best for the government to should engage with faith groups in England. And he has 4 sections in terms of structural review, which I'm sure you will know and you'll be able to tell our audience. But there is one section that he missed out on, and he did not actually mention the role that the government and its ministers play in terms of misinforming and inciting hatred within faith groups, in particular Muslim and Islamic community over the last 20-25 years or so. First and foremost, that's Colin Bloom has the expertise or the experience to carry out this lead review. And secondly, is this another whitewash investigation from the government, which will absolutely yield no result? What are your views on this?
We're aware of it, and actually we've been, like you said, we had a webinar yesterday trying to encourage Muslim participants to contribute to the survey. Where the survey came from, why he was appointed faith engagement advisor, I mean, I couldn't say I know the answer. There's been quite a few of them over the years, and specifically on faith, there's been a number of weaknesses. I think they're not really talking to the right people, in our opinion. Some of you would know that they're not, being the Conservative Party, they've been very reluctant to engage with the MCB as a whole. Not that some government departments do communicate with us on different issues, but as a government position, they haven't really engaged effectively with us. And even from the MCB, we're not saying, talk to us exclusively. We should be one of the groups that you should be talking to. Being the largest representative body of Muslims in the UK, you can't exclude us from these discussions. So COVID-19 was a prime example in the pandemic. MCB working with our partner organizations like BIMA, British Islamic Medical Association, National Burial Council. We've done extensive amounts of work in creating awareness, safeguarding our communities, producing graphics, guidance notes, holding webinars on helping people in responding to the pandemic. But throughout that entire process, there's been very little engagement at all. Well, there's been negligible engagement with, I would say, government departments. We've just done what we need to do, which is our duty to our community, and we shared it with them. It's interesting that on an official level they haven't engaged, but you've heard of SAGE, the scientific advisors to government. In their report about probably a month or 6 weeks ago, in their report, they mention MCB as a group demonstrating how organizations such as the MCB are more trusted by communities to give them information than government agencies. So, our work speaks for itself in that sense, because they're like you said, they're not politicized, so they can say what they want and how they think things will work. But on the main point of faith engagement, the survey's there. I think people should respond. There's a lot of questions. We don't know. I mean, surveys can be taken different ways as well, so people can interpret the results once they come out. But on the whole, generally, we still see it as an opportunity for people to speak their mind. So the survey is quite long. You can complete it in 10 minutes if you want to, just by ticking the simple boxes and moving on to each question. And if you really have time, then you should spend a bit of time answering the questions where there's extra options where you can actually comment on certain things on those questions themselves. But it asks things like, who do you feel, who's your go-to person, who's your organization that you would refer to, who do you want to represent you, these kind of things. And it's really important. Surprisingly, from what we've heard, generally the Christian groups have responded quite strongly, in the sense that they've been more responsive. And the survey is actually open to the general public, so individual people can reply as well as organizations can respond as well. So I think the more the better, because if it's government led, they'll have to produce the results, so we'll be able to see the full picture of what people are saying. So in a way, it's not a bad thing. It'd be good for people to know where what people's thinking is around engagement generally.
Yeah, absolutely. This is actually a perfect example where we now move on to actually about the MCB and the role it plays. I mean, that questionnaire, that survey, I'm 100% sure that obviously Brother Harun mentioned that the Christian community responded very strongly. I am sure if this was given to the Jewish community, about 80 or 90% of people of Jewish faith would respond to that survey and they will speak their mind and tell them exactly where the government's actually wrong. I think the survey and the 4 sections around it, the government's completely out of touch. It doesn't really understand what exactly faith engagement is. Tell us about the Muslim Council of Britain, a bit about the organization, its history, and the specific role you have, and the current problems you have, not in the wider mainstream, but within the Muslim community in general, the UK, in terms of getting more support.
For those who don't know, the Muslim Council of Britain that was formed in 1997 is a membership organization. It represents mosques, Islamic schools, charities, and organizations, mainstream organizations. So they join MCB as membership. So we're not dissimilar to say other, for example, the best example you can give is like professional associations, where even like chartered accountancy and so on, where individuals are members and the body represents them. But MCB is a similar kind of body. It's an umbrella organization, and we represent the voice of our members. So we don't really say that we represent all British Muslims, because they're not all our members. But we are the most diverse in terms of representation. So we've got around 500 of these institutions, and by default, they've got their own membership, they've got their own congregation. So we represent a very diverse range of people. And as you know, in the UK, Muslims are very ethnically diverse as well. So you've got South Asia, Middle East, Arabs, Black Muslims, white Muslims, and then you've got Shia and Sunni. So we're non-sectarian as well. And this is an important point, because we also don't give out fatwas, because we're not the Islamic Council of Britain, we're the Muslim Council. So we're a representative body representing all of these organizations. And some of the key purposes are around bringing greater unity and consensus on Muslim affairs. So all of these things are listed on our website. There's a lot more to see there on mcb.org.uk for those who want to see it on the About Us side. And we've been very much in the political space. I think from the outset, MCB was formed after 2 years of consultation. So the people who set it up at the very beginning They actually traveled around the country, visiting different Muslim communities, consulting, and then they came to the conclusion that they need a body like MCB. And this is where we are now. We're very much in the media space, as you've seen. We respond to the media quite a lot. We hold a big space in that arena, just in terms of being a responsive organization to represent Muslim views. And also in the mosque space as well. So because a lot of our members are mosques, they, to give them guidance and support to build capacity around these areas. We have lots of events around mosques and also around looking to the future. So we've covered a lot of the topics that people talk about. You mentioned about women earlier on before the break. We run an entire project called Women in Mosques Development Program, youth awareness. One thing we don't do, so that people understand, we're not necessarily a grassroots organization. So we're a non-governmental voluntary organization. We're not a grassroots-led organization because our member bodies are the grassroots organizations. They're the ones doing the day-to-day stuff around mosques and organizations and charities. And MCB's role is to raise that profile at a higher level as much as possible. So when it comes to policies that impact communities, we do lots of reports, written reports, like I said, about APPG, but also to parliamentary select committees. So when there are consultations on different aspects of policy that it may impact on Muslims, we write formal reports to those parliamentary committees. One example I would mention, a few years ago, there was a report where the Women and Equalities Committee was asking for a report on that specific topic. And we submitted a written report specifically about, funny enough, Islamophobia and what's known as the triple penalty on Muslim women. So Muslim women don't just suffer from Islamophobia, they're also impacted by the fact that they're women and there's sexism towards them. And also, predominantly, the Muslim women in this country are from an ethnic background. So they also suffer racism. So they're hit 3 times in different ways, if you think about it. That report went in, and a lot of the recommendations that the Women and Equalities Committee put out in their final report actually recognized a lot of these things, got picked up quite widely. So there are opportunities for us to do that. On the final point, on representation, where do we sit? What do people know about MCB? And how do we sit nationally? So there was a survey, there's been a couple of surveys over the years. There was one in 2015 by a survey company called Comres. It was commissioned by the BBC. We had nothing to do with it. And they had a question in that survey, funny enough. They surveyed Muslims nationally on a number of things. And they put a question in there. Who do you feel represents your views? Do you feel the Muslim Council of Britain represents your views as a Muslim within the UK? And the vast majority of people, more than 50% that were surveyed, agreed that the MCB represents their views. It's interesting because we don't represent individual people, but yet people recognize that MCB is quite a big representative body. Then there was a second one done, I think, a year or two later by ICM, and it was a similar response as well. So alhamdulillah, I think in terms of impact and what we're doing, people are recognizing and picking up on it. And this is what has brought about those responses.
Okay, so MCB been around for about 22, 23 years now.
Yeah.
And you've also mentioned not everybody likes you, not everybody supports you. Obviously, that can happen. We just want you to expand a bit more around that. I mean, you say you have 500 affiliated mosques, education institutions, charitable associations, etc. And you are a voice for Muslims. Do you actually have any lobbying powers? Any capacity or capability to lobby change in the government? Because, for example, this conservative government have said some negative things about MCB, or they're not really supporting your causes. So please explain to our audience, what have you achieved other than what you already said in the last 22, 23 years? And going forward, how can we be more inclusive?
Yeah. I think in terms of achievements, the milestone achievements, I would say, from the outset, and many people won't generally be aware of these things. MCB played a critical part in including the question on religious affiliation within the census. So the census that we fill in every 10 years, where the government asks you, the Office for National Statistics, where they gather data on populations, that question was never there before. MCB spent a number of years campaigning and working with other interested faith groups in getting that question into the 2001 census first. And it was a voluntary question. Nobody had to answer it. What we found, what the result of that was, where we are today, in 2011, the next time the census happened, we were able to do a direct comparison between 2001 and 2011 in terms of where Muslims within the UK sat within society in terms of education, housing, health, profile, opportunities, and also deprivation. A lot of these stats came out. Some of you may be aware. We produced a report called The British Muslims in Numbers. It's very popular, was very widely picked up. What's the point? What was the point? Some people might ask, what's the point of all of this? The point is that if we don't know how we stand in terms of numbers and what's impacting us every day in everyday life, for example, we're doing well in some areas. It was quite clear from the stats back then that Muslims are progressing relatively well in terms of education. There's more graduates. There's more people in middle and senior management. On the downside, what many of us wouldn't even be aware of is that there are a lot of lone families, single parent families within the Muslim community. There's a disproportionate number of Muslims within the prison system compared to the national average. And what this does is it gives good information, and this is taken from the ONS, the Office for National Statistics, not information that we're doing. It helps policymakers at a grassroots level to then plan their services effectively. And we can keep highlighting these things, and it helps them. So that was, for us, was quite a big milestone on that side of it. In terms of other things, I think just general initiatives. So big initiatives around creating awareness around the mosques, like Our Mosques, Our Future, over the last couple of years has been very powerful in gathering Muslim communities, even the Women in Mosque development. So we've seen this has been a big problem for some communities around the country, where we know that women are either, they don't have space in the mosque space because men don't allow them for whatever unusual reason they've got, and they've done it, or they're rejecting women from entering the mosque because they haven't got the space. And some people were protesting quite vocally on this, and we felt that a more effective way would be to educate people and to try and bring about that change in a more constructive way. So we launched this program, created a lot more awareness on this. Alhamdulillah, and it's been progressing quite well, but it's not easy. And there's a lot of factors in the whole conversation. You could have a whole discussion and debate just on that topic if you wanted to. But I think the main point is, being a representative body, umbrella body, we're trying to influence the conversation as much as possible. And same in the political sphere. You mentioned about lobbying. We're not set up as a lobby group per se, but the point is for us is that we try to influence as much as possible with the policy making where we can. So I mentioned about parliamentary select reports, parliamentary select hearings. We've been to a few of those hearings as well, providing evidence, oral evidence as well as written evidence. And that's where we can influence policy, because I think people may perceive how policy is derived and it comes about in different ways. And there are different ways and means where it can be done. And it doesn't have to be that you're sitting at the top table with government ministers means that you're changing policy. So I think that's sometimes some people may perceive that as being the influential way of doing things. It helps, but it also comes with its downside, because you can be in a different position. You can be in a compromising position as well. So, there's a bit of pro and con. And again, that's another big debate in itself as well. So we're doing what we can within our powers to make as much impact. For me personally, I think, especially being last 4 years and about to kind of step out of the role, I feel as though, alhamdulillah, I think we've achieved more by our work and our action. So all the things that we've done have demonstrated how we can, as a community, be independent and be proactive and take our community forward as much as possible without necessarily relying on other people to help us do that.
Great. Thank you very much to all of our audience. Lots of questions coming in. Brother Harun, thank you very much. I think it's very, very important to appreciate and acknowledge the starting journey of the MCB today and all the contributions that have been made by the leadership as well as its workers, as well as the community support all over and friends of the MCB in the wider community. I think a very, very important question that's come, Abu Umair has asked, which is to do with the idea of, in all of this discussion, money talks. And we know the most powerful communities make talk happen because they're able to bring together their funds very well and very well organized. My understanding and perception of the MCB, I had the honor and privilege of the day that it was launched. Alhamdulillah, I was able to witness and be in that particular hall, and I've seen it struggle continuously as a very important institution and representative of the overall Muslim community. Maybe not necessarily saying everyone, that money does definitely talk. How are you able to do all of this work? I know that there's only a few people who actually get paid to do what they do, and the rest are literally volunteers, which is a very important spirit for a community like us. But it's not enough, really. If you're really going to make the next decade of impact, then we need to be able to make money talk. So how are you managing at this moment in time?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very good point. I mean, it's been a real challenge. So in my previous roles at the MCB, I was the treasurer. So I felt the real pain of money. MCB itself is self-funded. We don't get money from government or agencies. In the past, MCB did get money from one government department specifically to support a project, but that was before 2010, specifically on capacity building. And beyond that, the core funds of MCB, the main money comes from the membership. So all of the members pay a fee depending on their own turnover. They pay an annual fee, membership fee to MCB. That's the first income. Then after that, MCB generates additional income through projects. So just like other charity organizations do, they will secure a project and they will secure donors for that project. And sometimes we get private donors who want to donate to our work. That's also a source of income for us. So all of that put together is basically running the MCB. When I started out in MCB in 2016 as the Secretary General, we had 3 full-time staff. Alhamdulillah, over the past 4 years, that's grown mainly through the hard work of the team of MCB, the volunteers, selling the work of MCB, that we can do things, we can get things done. People had to make voluntary, give up their own time and do things. And then eventually they were able to secure projects and donations. So we have around 14 full-time staff at the moment doing various projects. But they're all time limited. So it's not like a permanent money that you can say every year the job is secure. It is quite challenging still. And a lot of work to be done on that side. And it's not an easy sell. So Abdul Mu'min, you've done the fundraising pitch, you know it very well. It's very easy for Muslim communities to understand the message when you say to donate to an orphan, to donate to a country that's in need, in destitute, or even to donate for a mosque, because the evidence from Quran and Sunnah is very clear about your rewards. The difference is the message of MCB and the organization like MCB, the work that we do, is not as clear cut. So I think it takes people time to understand what is it that you do and what are the benefits. And Jazakallah khair for putting the page of the donation page up. We've had a big refresh. Alhamdulillah, I have to say we're doing quite a bit of work in trying to raise that profile and to generate more funds for the work that we do. And you're right, the more investment we have, the more we'll see. And this is why, as a result, because of the growth of MCB's resources in terms of staffing and a bit of funding, we're not there yet, really. We're not comparable to other organizations who are well-funded, who can do so much more. But when you have that investment, as you say, we can see the results in terms of what we can do and what we can deliver. One point that Naz made around money and the influence. It's true to a point, because even if you look around political parties, that big business people, big business donors who support the political parties are indirectly able to shape and influence policy. That's not the way it should be, because in America, as you know, is very messy. And the UK has strict rules and laws around the way this happens. But I think the main point is that for Muslim communities, we need to invest in ourselves as much as possible. And again, it's not donation. You're looking at an investment that you're going to see a return at the end of it, that there will be some benefit for our communities at the end of it, inshallah.
Well, that is oh, sorry, Brother Zaktash. That is the actual problem with our community. Here we go. The Muslim Council of Britain generates, acts, and operates like a charity. I mean, to be honest, if we are going to be making a difference, I'm saying that to Brother Harun Khan as well. As a volunteer, actually, he's a civil engineer by profession, has done a wonderful job. We cannot be taken seriously if we are going to be operating as a charity. Not everything revolves around charity, I'm sorry. But the Muslim Council of Britain, first and foremost, I was startled by when you said that survey about 10 minutes ago, only 50% of Muslims interviewed represent, who actually said that the Muslim Council of Britain represent the views. First and foremost, I would like to know who the other 50% think, what is wrong with the MCB. That's the first and foremost. Now, the thing is, to whoever's watching, and also to the MCB in general, you're doing a fantastic job. But to be honest with you, you are not going to be making or changing any landscape by being a charitable organization. You can be an NGO, you can be independent, but to make and do anything in life, you need investment. And that is a massive problem. I think we are enemies within ourselves. Like Brother Harun Khan said, we need to invest in ourselves. And today, I would like, I saw the Muslim Council of Britain website a couple of days ago, and I was absolutely shocked that the hierarchy are all volunteers, right? They're almost being run like a charity. We won't be able to have any influence in the United Kingdom or anywhere in Europe if we don't have bodies that define who we are, that battle for us, and make and basically give our perspective to governments in charge, whether it's the Tories now or the Labour or the ECB or whoever it is. We need to invest in ourselves. And I think the prime role model to have a look at it is the Jewish community in general, who are so beautifully united, and they contribute and they invest into policies, into organizations that defend and support them. And they are well within their right to do so. And nobody's stopping the Muslim community using that as a role model and doing the same for ourselves. It's incredible that 50% that answered the survey said the MCB does not represent their views. They cannot be the only organization. We can have Islamic Council of Britain, we can have Muslim Council of Britain, we've got Muslim Engagement and Development. They can all be umbrellas, and they can all work together to fight and basically to enhance Muslim life in the United Kingdom and Europe, and hopefully bring about some kind of change and not become political capital to racists and bigots. Because believe me, this problem, we are in our middle age now, we are suffering from it. Imagine our children in 10 years' time. Imagine our grandchildren. Okay, so we've got to take the necessary steps now. It doesn't matter whether you're Bangladeshi or you're Pakistani or you're Somalian or you're Turkish or you're Eritrean or you're Yemenis. I mean, if you are Muslim, then you've got these groups, MCB, MEND, you've got other groups as well. Support them, invest in them. I have personally set up a donation that I would be donating 1% of my monthly salary throughout my employment life to the Muslim Council of Britain, right? It's a small gesture. It is not going to cost me anything, but you know what? These people are going to be making a difference. This is the civil engineer. He's the Secretary General of Muslim Council of Britain. Surely he would like a full-time role, be focused on changing policies, in negotiating and influencing politicians that can make a difference for us. So this is exactly what we need to talk about and to move on. But we have to repeat our questions for Crack the Code again. Remember, the prize this week is a meal for two at Grand Bangla in Brick Lane, a very beautiful restaurant. And hopefully you are all participating. We just need to repeat the questions again for our audience that may have just joined in.
Okay, great.
Yep.
Yeah, Koiba, just before we do that, I just want to let everyone who's watching right now, if you really have enjoyed and benefited from this discussion, and I will especially appeal to second, third generation Muslims who are in a much bigger position to be able to intelligently utilize their money. And I, for one, I would urge Muslims in the UK to ensure that a percentage of their income stays in this part of the world when it comes to giving. Yeah. And as Brother Kabir gave a good example, that 1% of his own salary, you can make it more than that, you can make it less than that. But the principle of saying that Muslim issues matter right here, right now, at home, and someone and an institution like the MCB should be continuing the work onwards and upwards without having to think for a second, where are we going to get funds from? That should not be the reality after 2 decades. It needs to change right now and needs to happen beginning with myself and all the second generation and third generation that we have. This is a big investment we're making, and we want a better, brighter existence for the future community, and not only for Muslims. Muslims should continue to contribute to the wider community, and this is what MCB calls for. And I think, finance should not be the issue going forward, onwards, inshallah. Coming back to cracking the code, the questions.
Sorry, Yehebe, just to add, what we've done, Bideshi Vibes have put a donation link of the MCB's donation link on our Facebook. So if viewers want to contribute tonight, you can go to our Facebook link and support MCB. I mean, I wasn't going to support MCB, but after hearing the dire situation it's in, I do feel like also coming forward and doing something about it, inshallah.
Thank you.
Actually,
Thank you,
Brother Nazbai, can you just expand on why you weren't going to support MZB? Because you will be a reflection of maybe the 50% that didn't say they represented the MCB.
We can call him the 50% after this.
Yeah.
Because for me, I wanted a bit more than what they have done so far. I wanted to have more impact of, we've Muslims in this country for a long time now, and we should be represented more rigorously than what we have been done. Like, if you just see the media, the way, as you explained earlier on, we are a punching bag for all corners of the community. Even in the Labour Party, it's been torn apart recently with this talk about Islamophobia not being dealt with properly. It's all over the place. Baroness Varsi said Islamophobia has passed the dinner table test. So it's become a socially acceptable thing. And MCB is the only organization that I personally hold responsible for not doing enough, more than what they've done.
But he's just answered the question without any investment. What are these guys supposed to do? We will come back to this topic, actually. We'll continue.
That's why I said, as you've agreed, we all need to invest more, and we should from now on moving forward.
You were talking about Baroness Warsi. She also wrote a book, The Enemy Within. I think there's enemy within our community. We are our greatest enemy. Forget everybody else. We ourselves have so much tribalism and so much warped around tribalism that we do not know what is good for us and what is exactly bad for us. We will continue this fascinating and intriguing discussion and an even debate amongst the host of Bideshi Vibes. What a wonderful episode this is becoming. We've got to repeat the questions for Crack the Code again. Brother Yahya, take it away, please.
Thank you to all of our audience. Keep those wonderful messages coming in. Don't forget to make that donation. Go onto that link page and make your contribution tonight. If you're going to make a New Year resolution for the next 2021 as a Muslim, and nothing wrong with that, I think about the institution of the MCB and its contribution for the next 50 years on this landscape, okay, and say, look, I'm going to bring something out of my life and connect it with the MCB, and that's the least that can be is some financial help. So going to the Crack the Code questions once again, name the world's second largest religion. That was the first one. The second is, what is the currency of Saudi Arabia? Number 3 is Blenheim, Perfection, Tilton, Patterson, and Castlebright are all which types of fruit? Number 4, name the capital city of Somalia. It looks like Harun is even Googling. Number 5, name the 8th planet from the sun. I think he wants to go to Grand Bangla. I'm sure Bobby would love to And number 6 is, and you can use Google, Brother Harun or Bobby, if you're watching as well. Number 6 is Benin, Burkina Faso, Burundi, Chad, and Comoros are all countries found in which continent? By the way, Nazir Bhai's wife, if you're watching, you can take part. I know you've been begging to go to Grand Bangla. It seems like he goes on his own. This time we'll make sure if you win, you go with him. So crack the code challenge rules, take the first letter of each answer, and then unscramble the set of 6 letters to reveal the name of a world famous fashion designer brand. Hopefully we will get an answer very soon. We will try to announce that. Don't forget, you get a meal for 2 at the famous Grand Bangla, revamped and ready for you. I've been there.
You know, I was thinking,
we went for a short time and it was very nice.
just to add something, I just came to mind. You know, we spend a lot of time and effort in the charity sector. Most of us here are in the charity sector as a hobby or a passion. A lot of the money just goes abroad. Yes, there's definitely a dire need abroad, and we all know the needs. But I think a percentage of that fund should be actually kept here, and it should make it mandatory. You know, all the messages that we give out in our masajids, the mosque, the other platforms, that should be encouraged more and more, because we have seen the need tonight, and we need to act on that.
I think the
Absolutely.
word, I think the phrase "charity begins at home"
It's
Oh,
gone.
unfortunately, we have lost brother Yahya again. But you were talking about, you mentioned about foreign remittance. I mean, let's take Bangladesh, for example, yeah, the country of our heritage. There's billions each year that is going in foreign remittance to fuel economic growth in Bangladesh. There's billions going into Pakistan. There's millions and billions going to Somalia, Algeria, and all other Muslim countries. Now, the governments on those countries rely on the remittance from the diaspora community or the expats that are living abroad in order to fuel economic growth at home. How about the responsibility of these embassies that are in and around, based in London, the United Kingdom, identify a Muslim body, such as, for example, the MCB, or the Muslim Engage and Development, which is backed by an individual, a high net worth individual, or any other body, first and foremost, and donate a percentage annually to those organizations who can actually make a difference to the Muslims that are actually sending money back over there. Brother Harun, have you actually thought about fundraising and approaching these embassies in order to do so?
I'll keep it short. Actually, I think your producer saying we're running out of time, so I'm gonna keep it short. I think with embassy, so we generally, MCB as an organization being representative has generally a good relationship with majority of embassies, Muslim and non-Muslim, primarily because many Muslims in the UK have families back in those countries. So in terms of relationship, we have good dialogue, and that's their job really. I think in terms of money, it's probably a different conversation, because if you take money from a foreign nation, then you can expect it to have some strings attached to it as well. And we live in a very politically volatile situation at the moment, with various nations, various political issues going on in those countries. I see your point, the point that you've made about the linkage between the support they're getting from people here. But I think the approach of them funding initiatives in the UK could possibly be quite complex. We already know the negativity that came from the press around Saudi-funded mosques, for example, these headlines and stuff like that. So you can imagine if MCB was getting foreign money from different countries, what the headlines would be. So generally, I think it's more important what we said before, that we, the Muslims in the UK, we have enough people here with wealth for us to be able to generate that income. We give to charity in the month of Ramadan in excess of £100 million. And as Naz said, the vast majority goes abroad. So maybe a topic for another day about charity begins at home.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you. One thing I would say, Kabir Bhai, and that's food for thought, because we will not continue with the discussion, because we need to come, and this time we're going to grill Brother Harun on the quiz that's coming up. He probably didn't think about that. Just to say, look, if there's 3.5 million odd Muslims in the UK, can you imagine annually, Kabir Bhai, and all of our audience and Brother Nazir, if we all principally just said we would make every effort to donate just £1? if 3 million people annually give £1, we would have maybe 25 to 30 people employed full time to continue this great work, both male and female, really doing work that is very, very important for this immediate community, which is ours, and then of course the wider community, in making a big difference to ourselves and the wider community. So it just takes a little contribution, but on a consistent basis. But definitely I think we need to talk much more about charity beginning at home, on this platform and many other platforms where the opportunity is. And I think second and third generation need to lead on this. We are at home, and we need to be able to make sure that our home is the best and most befitting for us to live and exist and to contribute through, inshallah. Kabir bhai, what's the time now? We're really, really coming to the edge of the show. We've got something
I know there's so many things that we need to speak about. Maybe we will have a few minutes at the end, but it's that time of the program where we basically find out how Bangladeshi, the General Secretary of the Muslim Council of Britain, is. So maybe that is the problem. He is Bangladeshi. That's why only 50% are saying he represents their views. We will come back onto that. But yes, let's get on with the first quiz, please, Brother Yahya.
To all of our viewers, you're probably used to it, Brother Harun. This is the first time for you. We have this challenge called It's on the Spot, which is really putting you on the spot, really getting you to think about your own roots, which is Bangladesh, and connecting what you know about Bangladesh. So we're going to give you a set of pictures for this round. Is called Deshi Naam. So you will try to give the names of these things in whatever vocabulary you have of Bangla, whether it's Sylheti or standard Bengali. It's entirely up to you. So the first round is Deshi Naam. We're going to show you a set of pictures. By the way, Nazir bhai, get ready to announce the winner for Crack the Code, okay? So that's coming. Okay, Brother Harun, that's the first picture. What is this item in Bangla?
I mean, it might have another name, but from what I can see, tabla.
Okay.
Close.
Or dul.
Tabla's not necessarily Bangla word, but that's fine.
Yeah.
There's another name for it. We'll go to what is this?
I said dul.
Well, dul is the correct answer.
Yeah.
Okay, that's okay. Look, even Kabir bhai knows. Wow.
I have the answers.
Oh, we know. Okay.
And I was born here as well.
You've never been, but
I have. Of course I have. Yeah.
okay.
Yes.
So that should be your air conditioning in Bangladesh.
Sorry?
That should be the air conditioning unit in Bangladesh. The next picture.
Yeah. I've used it many times. Fakha.
Okay, well, forget about Bangladesh. I use it here, right here in Britain, and with confidence and happiness. It's very environmentally sustainable. Let's go to the next one. Okay.
Oh.
I've been involved in doing this. I'm not sure if you guys can claim the same. Not that I'm bragging, but I've done it out of wanting to have an experience. So what is this? This vehicle, if you like, if we could call it.
Obviously, it's a cart, isn't it? I'm trying to remember what it's called in Bangladesh. It slips my mind. I'm sure once you say it, I'll remember it.
What about the word? What's the word for pushing? And then that might help you. I'm giving you a clue.
Oh, telagari.
Oh, there you go. We'll help you out. A lot of people earn their livelihood through this particular tool, and a lot of us have benefited in our ancestors through this particular tool, and it's still being used today. My respect goes to all of those
environmental friendly. Environmental friendly.
Definitely. Next one, please. Okay.
I know it's a form of that. It's
not a martial art tool. It can be.
Is that as well? I forgot the name.
Rice is often cut with it, so I'm helping you out again.
It's a form of da, isn't it? But it's just the name, the specific name slips my mind.
It's a sickle.
Sickle. Yeah, sickle in English, obviously.
No,
that's the wrong answer.
That is the wrong answer. We're not looking for the English name.
I know.
It begins with the letter K. If I can help you.
Yeah. Hold on.
It can rhyme with the word sussy.
Yeah.
There you go.
Kasi.
Yeah.
Okay, Khasi. Okay. I'm not going to give you this one. You do it yourself.
I don't know. What they call it? Bashi.
Yeah, that's it. Well done. He hasn't done too bad, has he?
No.
Mashallah.
Yeah.
It seems he's much more rooted than some of us.
So the answer, sorry, excuse me. So the answer was Dul, which is correct. The second one was, where is it? It's Hat Paka,
Paka.
Telagari, and then you had Kachi, and then you had the last one, which was Bashia, which I'm guessing flute. He's done really well, actually. Now let's move on to round two, Brother Yahya.
Okay, Harun, but this one gets a bit more trickier, but I think you could handle it. This is basically English words and items that you need to turn into Bengali. So Bideshi farm is called. Okay, so you might see products and things, but you need to see how much of your Bangla vocab comes into action. I'm sure you attended Bangla school in the early days.
It's a transliteration.
Oh, go! I love this one. See if you can do this one.
Matar hona.
Not bad, not bad. That's pretty good. Very good. That was a good response. Go on.
Shat ufre. Ufre shat.
Shatufre. Okay. All right. That's the. Oh, nice.
So garlic is Russian. Blue, I'm not sure. It's I forgot the color. Safed.
You're wearing very conservative today, brother Harun.
Safed is blue, isn't it, or green?
Can you say that again?
It's an
Safed.
English name, Neil Kinnock.
1-0.
Yeah, the blue. I can't remember the translation for blue. Garlic is Russian.
1-0 to Liverpool. 1-0 to Liverpool.
Neil color. Okay. Neil Russian.
I mentioned Liverpool, by the way. I'm free of Liverpool myself. But
Chelsea.
there you go.
Neil.
Yes. What is it in total? Did you? No. Can we go back, please?
He said it.
Neil Russian.
Neil Roshun.
Oh, you want me to say Indian restaurant as well?
Yeah.
Hindi hotel.
Should actually Bangladeshi restaurant, but
It
yeah.
should be Bangladeshi restaurant, yeah.
Let's continue.
Next.
Oh, nice. Looks like a fish and chip shop.
Neil Taki Baruya.
Okay, that's quite literal, but that's not bad. Right. What's going on with all these fish and chip shops? I'm not sure who chose these today, but they're quite good. Go for it, Brother Harun.
Yes. Ada Mas Bazar.
Now halfway, other mas bazar na to.
Mazana, no, bar. I don't know what bar is in Bangla.
Baho lagto na. You can turn it into a more friendly word that.
Dukan.
Yeah, okay, dukan hoita bra masor dukan, but what does
Adadi.
Adadi na what does the word way? What are the words for way?
Oh, you want literal translation? Way.
No, other.
Okay. Ada fot mas dukan.
Ada fotor masur dukan, na kita.
Ada fot masuk dukan.
Okay, which is actually referring to a fish and chip shop rather than a fish shop, to be honest, from what I can understand. Is that the last one? That's it. Wow, not bad. Not bad.
We are very impressed.
Not bad, not bad. And we do actually have a bonus question as well, a short translation of a very, very famous speech.
Before we go to the bonus, can I have Nazbai giving the declaring the winner for the Crack the Code?
The answer hasn't come to me yet. Yes, the answers are 1 Islam, 2 Riyal, 3 Apricot, 4 Mogadishu, 5 Neptune, 6 Africa. And the answer is the fake Armani. Sorry, Armani.
You might get in trouble. Be careful, okay?
And the winner is Aisha Siddiqa. Congrats,
Brilliant.
Aisha Siddiqa. You will enjoy the food. All you have to do is go and see Guljar Khan at the Grand Bangla restaurant, Brick Lane.
Okay, but can you get in touch with us on bideshivibes@gmail.com and we'll give you all the details.
Come through Bideshi Vibes. Email was just displayed, and then we will connect you up with the restaurant, inshallah. So take someone with you. There's meal for two. It's a lovely meal, and it's a good variety of Bangladeshi range of food. I'm a regular clientele there until this COVID has put me off for a bit.
Yeah, but I
Congratulations.
think big thanks to Grandpa. I would really request everyone who's watching this make an effort to go there, and eat some lovely rooted food. Sometimes we miss that for whatever reason. Grand Bangla actually is able to bridge that difference and that gap for us. So definitely go there. The chef is a wonderful guy. The staff are very nice, and they'll look after you definitely on behalf of Bideshi Vibes. So make sure you go and say that.
I think why the chef is it?
Sorry.
I think why is still the chef?
Yes,
there?
yes, yes. Atik Bhai, the celebrity chef, Atik Bhai. Atik Bhai, shout out to you if you're watching. Atik Bhai, big man, doing a great job, inshallah. Abu Umair says, impressive, Brother Harun. Thank you, of course, to Harun Bhai. It's not over yet. We've got one more for Brother Harun. And this is the bonus round. It's called I Have a Dream. And and it needs to be in the Bangla edition. All right. Are you ready for it?
Do I have to translate all of this?
Yes, you got and with the same passion.
Oh my god. That's going to be difficult to go out on the spot. Amar ekta shopno. The ekdin amar desh will rise up.
Jagbo.
Oh, you're going to Shundo now.
Well, it's a bit of mix, isn't it? Silati is tough when you translate.
Don't be guided by Brother Nazir, yeah? We haven't qualified him for anything like this. So just go for yourself. Go on.
Live out the true meaning. Wow, okay.
All your colleagues are watching this, by the way.
No, it's difficult, man. This is tough words. I've not done the translation like that before.
This is worse than Jeremy Paxman for you, isn't it?
And live out Basia.
I will help you, but I'm going to let you have an opportunity first. Let's see if I can help you. Let me think whilst you do your bit.
Yeah, it's tough. I think it's going to be quite messy, actually, if I do it. I'm sure you do a much better job than me.
I'll try. I can't claim that, to be honest. But Kobe, do you want to have a go before me?
Oh no, I'll let you have the privilege. Go on.
This would have been your life on Bideshi Vibes test. But let's not UK. All right, I'll try. Naziba, you can help as well. আমার একটা স্বপ্ন আছে যে একদিন এই জাতি খাড়ইব এবং খাড়ইয়া যে তারার আসল যে পরিচয় পরিচিতি যে একটা দরিয়া রাখের সতর বিষয়ে এবং সেইটা প্রকাশ হইব যে সব মানুষ সবাইরে বানানি এবং তৈরি হইছে এক হিসাবে।
Very good.
Wow, very good. Excellent, brother Yahya.
Not really. I'm not claiming expertise. This is an attempt, but I think
it's all those Channel S shows you've done, isn't it? It's all that.
maybe.
You've done wonderfully well. We're actually coming very, very close. Well, we've actually overrun the show. But there's one question I wanted to ask Brother Harun before we go. You see, nobody's aware of the Islamic history or how advanced the civilization was 200-300 years ago, what contributions Muslims have made to the modern civilization as we accept it. For example, the nation's favorite drink is coffee, but coffee is a Muslim drink. It was so Muslim drink in the 17th century, the priests in churches almost said, do not drink it, you might turn Muslim. That's what they said to their Christian followers. That's this kind of knowledge and expertise, the modern world doesn't have it. Our own children don't have it. What are the probabilities? What do we need to do to bring the advancements that the contribution that Muslims have made in the form of a museum, in the form of an art gallery? What do we need to do in order to do that, and how is that possible?
This is a really, really good point on this, and I think education is the key, no doubt, not just for wider society, but for our communities. And we know Islamically how important education is. I think one of the things that we lack, there's quite a few things that have been said, and I think we could take a lot of learning from experience. So if you look at the Jewish community, for example, many people wouldn't realize it. They're a relatively small population.
Yes.
You think about them as a community who have suffered. They were almost wiped out. If you think about Second World War, and how the Nazis almost annihilated. But look at how, and I understood this. I went to an event a few years ago that was hosted by Citizens UK, where they had speakers from the Kinder Transport. So the refugees, the young children who escaped Nazism, came to the UK. You know, they've lost everything. But when you look at them now, they're working in top professional jobs, you know, psychiatrists, doctors, and everything else. You know, nobody handed something to them on a plate. They worked hard. They educated themselves. They educated their children. Also, reading books. I'm a culprit. I can't say I'm a great reader. I used to read a lot when I was a bit younger, but not as much in recent years. And I think reading is the key. You know, reading books, and not just Islamic books, reading all books to get knowledge is really important. And I actually heard the chief rabbi speak once. He got asked a question about their community, and he said, you know, in their homes, they're surrounded by books. Bookshelves. So look at all these Zoom calls. Everybody's showing off their bookshelves at the moment. Really, and it's true, because actually the scholars and the people who know and the people of knowledge and even the politicians, all of them read. They read books. They learn. They understand. And because education, as we know, the saying, education is power. So I think it's really important. I think the good sign, alhamdulillah, I would say, just for particular for Bangladeshi community, and I hope it comes out in the next round of results of statistics, that actually Muslim Bangladeshis are doing quite well in terms of education. We can see it amongst ourselves in terms of what we need to make sure for the future is that that education is put to good use. Like we said, that is reinvested back into our communities. It's really important. And also, you know, we're still quite a young community. Whichever way we look at it, we've not been here that long, you know, second generation, third generation. We have to carry on and persevere and build on the building blocks that our uncles and our fathers, the generation that came here to really, they only came here to work and make money. Okay, the reality is, and now we're in a situation where we're not going anywhere. So we have a lot of work to do to ensure that our future generations are stable and can progress further, inshallah.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Kabir bhai, before you round up, I just want to very quickly say, Abu Umair says he's given Brother Harun 7 out of 10, and he gave me 8 out of 10. How unfair that decision. Just, you know, bonus round, basically. So Abu Umair, we seek justice from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this context. And the other thing I was going to say, Brother Harun, before we obviously say goodbye, that question that came earlier on, you know, that it's been over 20 years since that particular person knew you. How do you keep yourself looking so so young?
He kept saying to me, I need to go to Grand Bangla. Actually, you know what? MashaAllah, I get great food at home. Alhamdulillah. And that's what keeps me, you know, where I am. Alhamdulillah, healthy. I think some of it is probably genetics. And I think generally, I think it's really important for our community. I think general health and well-being. So eating healthily, not going crazy, I think it's really important. There are a number of issues, as you know, that we suffer in older age, but also exercise as well. So keeping all of that, and again, this all comes from religious teachings as Muslims about being moderation. You know, moderate in everything that we do, that not to go to extremes in whether it's dieting or exercising or anything else, and eating as well. So I think keeping a balanced, healthy lifestyle is really important for all of us.
Great, thank you very much.
Unfortunately, I can't help you with the hair issue. That's not.
Rashid Ali, thank you for that question. So you've got the answer. The competition is now on, and some of it is related to Brother Harun's genes, which are not Levi's. It's his mother and father, of course. May Allah have mercy, especially on Sasa, who passed away. Sasa is still around, isn't she? Yeah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give her a long life, most blessed and most accepted, inshallah. Thank you, Brother Kabir.
Thank you very much, Brother Yahya. Okay, just a couple of things. We've come to the end of the show, another exciting show. There was so much we could have spoken to Brother Harun about. First and foremost, thank you so much for making the time and appearing and sharing your thoughts and feedback. And you've done a wonderful job. And the MCB are doing a wonderful job, even though their hands are tied. Hopefully, after this program, there will be a lot more interest in the MCB, and hopefully there will be a reawakening within the Muslim community, certainly within the Bangladeshi community, to actually find and identify a body that represents us. I'm going to make a closing statement on that shortly. Brother Yahya, what would you like to say as the final words?
No, I just want to say a big thank you to all of our audience from all over the world. If you just joined us, you haven't missed anything. You can definitely watch the whole show later on, and don't forget to comment, like, share, and definitely make sure that you follow us. And yeah, this year is coming to an end. Let's make the best of the rest in this difficult time, but let's also prepare for what's ahead and make sure that we as a community, Bangladeshi community, Muslim community, make our mark, and that mark begins from within our own community. And the MCB has gone through 2 dates. If it's going to go to the 3rd, 4th, 5th, then it has to be us coming forward. If we can't give time, we can give financial contribution to make that difference, and it can happen, and it begins with you and me. So this is our message to everyone tonight. It may be your pound, maybe just a pound, but it may be a massive leap for the British Muslim community and the wider community here in the UK.
Absolutely. Brother Nazir?
Yeah, I don't normally come to this show. I actually came for Harun Bhai, because I'm really fond of what he's doing, giving up his time for a massive organization. And I just want to know, obviously your term's coming to an end in the next couple of months. You'll have more free time. What's the future for you, Harun Bhai?
Yeah, so I'll just make it a conclusion as well. I wanted to thank all of you and Alhamdulillah Bangladeshi Vibes for having me. I think it's been very interesting, Alhamdulillah, and the opportunity to speak to your viewers and listeners, Alhamdulillah, great opportunity. And we covered a lot of ground, and I think there's a lot for us to learn. I think specifically on MCB, Naz, and thank you for the comments as well, and the questions, all very useful and helpful. For the future, I think for me, really, I'm hoping that as I'm stepping down, that there is, some of the work that's been done and achievements of MCB carries on. There's been a huge amount of progress that's happened. And you mentioned at the very beginning, if you remember, in joking way we said, about staying on, or some people have said it. I think it's really important that we, as a community, we learn how to develop young people and young next generation of leaders, and that we create spaces and opportunities for them to step in, because we should have that level of trust in them, that we suffered many years because of that kind of blockage, and no disrespect, because our elders have built the foundations that we stand on, but there are some people in some sectors who are occupying spaces and not really giving that space. And so what happens, the next generation of people get frustrated, they'll go somewhere else, or they won't try. And what I'm trying to do in MCB is to improve that culture, that actually there are enough people out there in society, there are enough talented people that can do this work. I don't need to stay here to continue doing the same thing to make it. I can do other things, and I think I will still be involved. Absolutely, I think I've given quite a few years of my service to MCB. I'm not necessarily going. I won't be the leader, but I can definitely help, and I will continue to help as much as possible, inshallah, to ensure that legacy continues, as in the same way as the former leaders of MCB. So people like Syed Sakrani, Dr. Abdul Bari, they're still involved in a way, because they have huge amounts of experience that we don't have, on all sectors. So we rely on them to give us that advice and guidance, and that's where it's really important, where we bridge that gap between different generations, so that we can continue, inshallah.
Inshallah. We look forward to seeing your OB or knighthood soon, inshallah.
I think he's worth more than all of that, inshallah. May it be all accepted. And as they say, the best leader is the leader of leaders. So I'm sure there are people that Harun Bhai has built that will take over and do even a better job than Harun Bhai has, to make Harun Bhai even more happy and proud, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Yeah, absolutely. But I don't think anybody can do any kind of a decent job unless the MCB is well funded. Now, the thing is, my closing statement to all our viewers is pretty simple. It doesn't matter who you are, what nationality or what your background is. The thing is, if you're Muslim, these organizations are representing you and your interest in the United Kingdom, and also hopefully a Muslim Council of Europe, which represents your interests in Europe. We don't need to be partisan about this, okay? We can argue over how we pray and what days we celebrate Eid and how many days of Ramadan we do it. That's a religious topic. Let the scholars and let the masjid and those organizations deal with it. The only thing we want to deal with is we want an organization like the MCB, like Muslim Engagements and Developments, to represent us and protect and defend Muslims in the United Kingdom economically, socially, and politically, and advance our causes. These organizations should not be a charity organization. They can be NGOs, they can be independent, but they need to be funded well. Why don't you invest 1% or 0.5% or 0.25% of your salary, monthly salary, per every single month to one of these organizations? Let them have the fund, let them build and develop, let them recruit people who can basically call out editors, that can basically fight bigots on social media, that can represent us on Question Time, on Parliament and all other media mainstream channels in order to protect and defend us. And that's what exactly everybody does. We spoke all about the other communities this particular episode. We spoke about the Christian community. We spoke about the marvelous achievements of the Jewish community. And while we're in the subject of the Jewish community, happy Chanukah, which is Jewish Festival of Lights this particular week from Bideshi Vibes, so everybody's celebrating that. But they are a perfect example of what can be achieved with intellect, with unity, with investment. Let's get together, let's support these groups, let's forget our home domestic politics, and also let's be united. If the Conservative Party do not want to accept the definition of Islamophobia, doesn't matter whether your father or grandfather supported them, whether they're good for your business taxation wise or your property, to vote against them. Make sure we have organizations that can have well-funded opponents on those that do not want to advance the cause of Muslims, that at least treat us fairly. We do not want to be positively discriminated. We would just want fair treatment. That is the only way to actually tackle this issue. My name is Kabir Ahmed. You're watching Bideshi Vibes. We're joined by Yahya Al-Kasmiya, Nazir Ali, and also Harun Khan from the Muslim Council of Britain. If you do like what we do, please tweet, share, refer, and tweet. And if you have missed this episode, you'll be able to find us on fb.com/Bideshi Vibes. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a very good evening. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Salam.